We are live. Okay, great. Laura, hi. Do you want to go first? Laura, we can't hear you. Why don't we go to you, Matt? Maybe something's going on with Laura. She's maybe stepped away. Okay, coming back. She said.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Since yesterday, I worked on creating a demo for a static site, potentially new static site for AV, using S3 to host the entire site, actually, which would potentially allow to share resources on the site like images and CSS files with other apps, and that works pretty nice, except it might cost. So if we do get credit with them, Sam, that might be the easiest option because it works. There's a gem, an S3 gem, to publish to it really easily, and it work. That's what I did yesterday. And it works great. But in the meantime, I'm trying to create a gem instead to share assets. So I guess we'll be able to compare the two. So I think that's it for now. I was stuck on creating a new repo, but then Sam kindly added me to the core group, so I created the repo for the gem. Yeah.
All right, good. Thanks, Matt. Good to see you back. You've been away for a few days, so that's great. Yeah. Let's see. Hi, Laura. How are we doing now? Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, it just seems like when I'm signed in with multiple accounts on Google, my sound tends to go away. So from my side, I've been working on client deliveries. Last night, did the mobbing session with Sam. I've been out at a client meeting the whole day, so I've just come back. I'm busy reviewing Hanesh's pull request and just requesting some changes. I think one small change over and above yours, Patrick. And then I've just got to investigate why I'm getting 18 cucumber failures on my Met Plus opposed to the 3 that's on Semaphore on GitHub.
On your PR. Okay.
Yeah, so on my PR on Semaphore, I've only got 3 failures, but on my local, I've got 18. So I just need to have a look and see what's going on there. Other than that, and just had a meeting with Thomas to discuss the marketing for February, and that was me. Oh, and yeah, Sam, just waiting for feedback from you on, or your approval on the social media plan for to get going on Facebook and all other social media platforms.
Yes, I was sort of imagining we might discuss that in the marketing meeting on Monday.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Laura. Let's see. Sam, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yes. So various things going on. So I was on the phone with AWS yesterday. Now it turns out that their $2,000 a year credit doesn't apply to EC2. It's actually for like Amazon workspaces and Amazon work documents and a series of, I guess they're like Office. I mean, it sounds like, have you used those, Matt? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, basically stuff that we don't care about. Like, I mean,
Agile Ventures email calendars and
yeah, just stuff that's kind of. I mean, yeah, sure. Like if we had yeah. Anyway, that which is a shame. So I'm speaking to this guy. He's based in Ireland and covering the whole Europe. What they do is they can provide credits for EC2 and things on a kind of ad hoc basis. There's no fixed thing. So if we come to them with a project, we can get AWS credits. They've got like a pool that they can disperse from. So, I mean, hypothetically, like for example, Met Plus, if we get to the point where MetPlus is going to be hosted on AWS, and we're looking at the, incurring some charges there, we can potentially bring that project and pitch MetPlus to them and get some level of discounts, or maybe host it free. Who knows? I mean, it's a bit. I mean, I think, we sort of. It's sort of frustrating in its vagueness, but that's what it is. I was saying about, we've got these existing, like, I think we're now paying $10 a month for the greeting bot and the async voting bot and stuff. And he was saying, no, kind of an existing project, like, it's not really for that. I mean, it seems like a ridiculous sort of thing. Like, well, this is like, well, we just created this in the last month. It's a prototype or whatever. This is what we're doing. If I take it down and restart it and say, oh, I got to propose it to it anyway. So, but similarly to for Matt, you were saying there, like, for the CloudFront thing, in principle, we could take that to them as a product and say, we're thinking of trying out this thing for our nonprofit. So, can we get some funds for it? And we can see it, and we have a dialogue. So that's nice. The other things going on, I've just found out New Relic has got a nonprofit program, and I've just applied for that. The traffic on the site is up. I guess, I'm blogging about it this morning. Like, what are the most effective ways of spending our time, moving forward? I started work last night on this thing that I'm calling the escalating call to action, which we can see, I think fairly clearly, that the new call to action button has been leading to more people clicking, clicking through the sign up page and possibly more sign-ups. I'm not sure about that, but I'm kind of right now. I'm focused on if we can, when people are logged in, it will show them, you could upgrade to premium, and when they're on premium, you could upgrade to premium mob. But at least by having that in there, it just kind of makes people more aware that it's there. Whether that leads to any increase in revenue and sign-ups, I'm not sure. But I'm kind of I started on a pull request for that last night, and also got a pull request in for adding more AdWords tracking on the site. Yeah, so is that almost everything? I think it's getting there. The DRE thing, they had a detailed look at our team and budget breakdown, and was saying this was competitive, but they are going to spend another week, looking at options, because they're feeling like it's more expensive. I mean, they were kind of like saying to me, maybe we want to go with something not like a whole team, but maybe we want something more prototypey. So we'll see. That's kind of like, it's frustrating. It would have been lovely to start that today and kick it off and just get going and get moving. At the same time, of course, that would require a lot of focus. It would take us away from website one. So in the interim, I mean, maybe that will still come off in a week or two. In the interim, there's lots and lots of stuff to fix on website one. I'm also just drawing up the contract for working with Sage, because they're grant funded, so they've got some money to pay us for not development work, but project management work on Wikimedia dashboard thing. So I'm just about to send that to him, and hopefully we'll get that started in the next week. I think he's gung-ho to get on with that. So things have come up with it today. We had the more programming. Friday, I've got the Autograder Beta Starter client meeting coming up in about 5-6 hours, and no local support client meeting. The client pushed that off again. I need to try and maybe sort out a new day for local support and make sure we actually have those. I was very pleased to see a vote on local support involving 3 Kenyan students and a Greek person. Yay! So that's my update. Apologies for it being long and crazy as usual.
No problem. It's all good stuff. Let's see. For myself, mine will be fairly short. So on MetPlus, I reviewed a bunch of PRs at a pair programming restore review session with Hinesh to go over the comments that I made to his story. You saw those, Laura. Sounded like. On the SHF project, I refined a story that I've got out there based on comments, PR comments. I started another story. We have a team meeting today in the SHF project at 2:30 in the afternoon, my time. And we have a client meeting, I think, this Sunday. We generally try to do them every other Tuesday, but the client can't meet this coming Tuesday, so I think we're doing it Sunday afternoon, something like that. And that's about it. Something else came up that I've been holding back in terms of letting you know about, Sam, because I know you've been focused on a bunch of very important stuff. But we did have a contributor on MetPlus. Well, he did take a story, but he never delivered on it. Finally had to take it from him, and he agreed. But anyway, he came back and said, "Gee, I'd like to take your Met Plus thing, and I'd like to create this thing called Vets Plus to help people find jobs for vets." And you know, we would well, you know, I mean, the key thing about that is actually let me just share my screen real quick. If you got a few minutes.
Sure. Well, are we done with this? Scrum?
We're done with the Scrum. I'm sorry, I segued without.
No problem. I think with that, maybe just do we have anything else that we need to coordinate the group of us before? I mean, and we can all. I think we're all interested in this one. But anything else that's urgent that needs to go on the agenda?
Not from my side.
No. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, let's hear. Go ahead, Matt. Let's hear about it.
Okay. Let me bring that up then. Where are we? We are Michael. There we go. All right. So anyway, I was going back and forth with him about a story that he's been working on, and you know, I was finally trying to say, "Look, Mike, we got to get this thing done." Etc. And he came back. This is a long story short.
Yeah.
Swamped the kids. Can't get to it. I'm okay if you take the story and give it to somebody else, etc. Anyway, he was thinking about setting up a conference call with the team and Sam to see if we could branch this project and create the Vets Plus. So, so he's got some idea where he wants to actually create this, take this software, put it in a private repo, which is a problem for us right there.
Yeah.
And then he's thinking eventually we'd be able to generate revenue from this, and we could fund End of Vendors continuous development. And he thinks the timing's good on that. So, let's see what else. So anyway, I came back and said, well, gee, that's great, but Met Plus is designed to support a jobs agency who makes revenue from placing people at clients. Is that what you're proposing to do? I don't know if he's even in this business. I have no idea. And he says, yes, Patrick, I understand the app supports this. I'll let you guys read this paragraph here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's the last one there.
Yeah, just reading it now. Yeah, sorry. I think I control which screen I'm looking at there. Yeah, I mean that's
copy and paste it to Sam as well.
Yeah, I mean that sounds great in principle. I guess the thought that I immediately have is that we, you know, I've had folks come along and say things, similar sort of thing about local support, and it is easy to end up spending, you know, a certain amount of time and energy and effort and discussion in it on something like that for nothing to come of it. Similarly, like there was a guy who came in one time and he wanted to do this thing for helping prison folks, like get jobs after prison, which, you know, I mean, it's wonderful, absolutely. I think that there's, we just got to be slightly cautious about, you know, these fantastic ideas, but then whether there's the resources to follow through with them, you know, for the outlay of resources in sort of thinking about them. As you point out, I'm not sure why Met Plus needs to be taken and put in a closed source environment and how that helps achieve the sort of ultimate goal, if you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly my feeling too. I think, you know, he says he's swamped. I mean, he had this story outstanding for a couple of months.
Right.
Until I finally pulled it back, but he wants to create this thing, this agency, use Met Plus as a vehicle for managing that, etc. I just don't see him able to pull it off, and he wasn't able to deliver before. And I don't think he's actually in this business anyway. So, I mean, the only thing I would say is I don't know if private repo versus public repo or open source is okay with you. That's less of a concern to me than that. I don't want to pour any effort, team effort, or my effort into this unless we actually got paid. And I don't think he's in a position to start funding us. No. That's what I'd like to respond back, which is, you know,
I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say back. I mean, I think, you know, if he's got funds, you know, then we can have you know, a conversation, or even if he's applying for funds, as I mean, we had a previous conversation with Sage based on, you know, he was about to apply for funds. I mean, of course, and there's this big thing of like, you know, Sage has come and got involved. He's participated in other things. He hasn't contributed to other, you know, non-profit projects in Agile Ventures, but it's obviously clear from Sage that he's been running this open source project of his own, and it puts him in a, you know, it's sort of, I guess I hope it doesn't come across as like brutally mercenary, but it sort of, you end up wanting to invest. It makes more sense to invest more time there when you have that solid sense of people. I mean, people's lives are kind of like, absolutely, they totally get busy, and people can come in with the absolute best of intentions, but then just end up not having the time, and it's kind of, it's difficult for a volunteer organization where time is an extremely limited resource to invest lots of time on folks who might just sort of come and go. But yeah, so I mean, if he wants to talk about a funding proposal, that's, he can we're very happy for him to join a Scrum. I mean, that's what Sage did, and we talked about the funding proposal. Sage now then did the funding proposal. It's got the money, absolutely, we can throw it in there. I mean, Michael's of course completely free to fork the Met Plus project because it's open source, right? So he could start forking it and start building it. But if he wants, I would say, like, if he wants to be getting support from Agile Ventures for it, then of course one of the requirements is that it continues to be open source. Like, he can't fork it and make it private and then say, "Hey guys, come and help me build this." And yeah, so I guess.
If he forked it,
go on.
If he forked it and made it private, and he wanted to pay for us to build it, with an AV team, for instance, would that be okay, or would that be violation of?
We'd have to look at that. Like in principle, we can work on a closed source thing, but that's then outside of kind of the remit of Agile Ventures. I mean, I was having a long conversation with Federico about this yesterday. Is that as a founded charity in the UK, we have two objectives, which is one is education and two is helping other nonprofits. So, we kind of really any project that's kind of like a core part of Agile Ventures has to have those two things. So the education for me comes from the open source. It's like, and specifically our goal is like education accessible to all. So it's open source, open development. So everybody around the world can sort of see and participate in the process and grow and learn and so on and so forth. So if it becomes closed source, we can then, put together a team that might have some people from Agile Ventures in it, but it couldn't really be an Agile Ventures team. And we can set I mean, it's kind of like the two legs. So the the Dree dashboard thing, even though it's open source, it's not for it's a for-profit organization, and so it needs to be sort of taken out of the Agile Ventures thing to an extent. But if it's going to be, involve money and resources and things flowing through the center of Agile Ventures, we kind of need to have both that charitable objective and the openness. So now, obviously, he's got the charitable objective, hasn't he? So if he was happy with the open source, then yeah, sure. Then there's nothing to stop him just sort of starting that project on Agile Ventures and seeing who shows up and getting, effectively we have our free tier. Basically, any open source, open development, charitable project is more than welcome at Agile Ventures.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll respond back to him, and I will let him know that one of the options, as you articulated, is you could fork the code, become the PM on that, and start recruiting people in AV to work on it. That's great, because I don't think he's a 501c3 yet, but seemingly that's
no. But it doesn't have to be an official. I think I think it's. We take people at their word for charitable objective. If he's helping veterans, I mean, that like with the guys that was helping the prisons guys get back into work. I mean, fantastic, and we'd ultimately help people set up 501(c)(3)s, to make it more official going on. We want to provide, that little, support for people when they have a charitable idea just getting off the ground. The interesting thing about the open source is, of course, is many people are very nervous about the open source, and they kind of imagine that they have to make it closed source in order for any money to be made, but that's like so totally not the case. It's to speak to DHH, he's got his big Rails all completely open source, isn't he?
There is that. So if he wants to take this on and become the driver for it and recruit a team and put some sweat equity in, maybe he can attract some people to work on it.
I think
maybe I'll help him out to get going.
Yeah, I think the other caveat that we should probably mention, and this is something that is that we do recommend that people who are starting projects, we do strongly recommend that they've at least completed 3 other submissions to other projects. I think one of the things we could also be saying to him is, before if you wanted to be project manager on this, we kind of think that you need to get through. Like, if you can't make the time to finish the
Yeah,
or
exactly.
do the organization things for the other projects. Then I mean, and it's particularly it's about being on the contributing end and experiencing being a contributor, so that you can then be an effective project manager and understand where people who are contributing to Agile Ventures projects are coming from. So.
Understand what people are saying is the most critical thing. So he's got that option. The other one is if he wants to actually keep it open source, but actually start creating a team that he's going to pay and he's got funding, then we can talk as well.
Oh yes.
So those are two options available to him.
Yeah. I mean, if there's money, we're certainly, as we're doing with Wikimedia EDU dashboard now, they're non-profit, it's open source, and they're paying for support through Agile Ventures. So
yep.
They can certainly do that, and I'd love to see many more projects like that. That would be great.
I'm pretty sure this will go nowhere because he wasn't. I mean, like I said, it took him a long time to get back to me. He had a car accident, prevented him working on the story, etc. But anyway. But if he's really interested, we'll support him if he wants to move forward.
I mean, life happens, and it's difficult. One can't predict. I mean, sometimes life really does happen, and it really gets in the way. And they're actually really dedicated people, and they get that part of their life, and things settle down, and suddenly there's a big thing. So I think we've got to give everybody
my main point is life happens, and look at what you've not been able to do because of life happening. And do you really have the time to make this happen? If you have the drive and the time and you want to do all that stuff, great. We'll see if we can support you. All right. Well, thanks for taking a look at that. I wanted to hold off until we got past the DRE push. Just get your thoughts on that.
I'm just really appreciating your fantastic project management skills and people communication skills, Pat. It's great stuff. Great to have you involved.
Okay. Oh, by the way, on DRE, I mean, if they want to do something prototypey, do they want a prototypey revised proposal from us?
I think they might. They might do. I mean, I'm going to have another meeting with them on Monday, and it's. I mean, it's maybe that there's going to be something different. I mean, I think what the as I say, my contact was sort of saying like, they were kind of for this, and then they kind of like, but couldn't we? I mean, what's the word? It's a little bit. I would much rather that they were like, yes, we want this done properly and have it done properly, and we could and so on. But making a spike is certainly something we can do. Whether we can sensibly do it on a revised budget, we will see. They may have trouble getting a prototype of the kind that they want, and they may come back to us. Yeah, we'll see. I'll have another meeting with them on Monday, and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, great. Good to hear about that. Well, that's all that I had. Thanks for taking the time with that.
Pleasure. Yeah. Well, I think I was just going to say with Matt, great work getting the stuff up on the CDN and the S3, and I hope that you don't incur too many charges associated.
Yeah, I think I'll probably take it down because that was the proof of concept, I think.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I like Anar, who came in as a new premium member, great guy, doing stuff on the local support project, and he had a site of his that actually he was in my Mentive class. And I had put like his app. I just set that up to run. He'd set it up, and you needed S3 to run the unit tests. And I sort of did that with my S3 account, or whatever, and left it. And at the end of the month, I got like a bill for like $2.50. I'm kind of like, yeah. And that's my sort of experience with Amazon. Yeah,
so far I've only paid him a couple dollars. So
yeah. So it's definitely good to shut those things down before they become a bleed. It's just a very interesting question, I think, about this sort of the DHH talk about anti-microservices. I was just listening to a blog. They were talking about building gems. I just posted in Tech Talk. There was the Ruby Rogues episode from just before Christmas, which is about with a guy who wrote a book called Building Gems, which and he was also talking about that in that Ruby Rogues episode. They were also talking about sharing stuff between different, more to do with like sharing models rather than assets per se between the different elements. But like this sort of trend from way back in Ruby of like, it's got to be dry, and how sometimes actually that can lead to more trouble than it's worth. Sometimes a little bit of replication, is just the simplest way to move forward. Yeah. So anyway, I've given Aresh access to the logs for Website 1 production, which you could get as well if you were interested. I think I'm kind of moving to a point where, I need to kind of like make more stuff available to more people, and not. I need to decentralize in some fashion, and do more of that. So yeah, it's this kind of this thing now of like if we were all like full-time paid staff, then sort of exploring that really big, microservices architecture I was talking about earlier in the week, we'd have a lot of flexibility to do that. I guess I'm sort of thinking, what are the, how can we get to the nub of the problem?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and well, speaking to what DHH said, we could be doing this as gem, Rails engines instead, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
another area to explore.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about that in the podcast as well. Actually,
Yeah, I listened to that. I was doing something else, so I didn't hear it.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think the interesting thing, and bottom line is, as a volunteer, basically, as long as you're having fun exploring and doing the things that you want to do, that's kind of like the highest goal. The highest goal is kind of like you're learning and you're exploring, and your kind of enjoyment of it is kind of the critical thing.
Yeah, and then part of it, my enjoyment gets when something gets used. I enjoy it. So
yeah.
Also.
Indeed, Michael was saying something very similar. Actually, I mean, he he's sort of talking about this data mining aspect, and we've got this separate thing in the data mining channel, and he kind of like has got now access to some of the premium data when people signed up, and the Slack logs and so on, and just trying to. I mean, the interesting thing about, at the risk of reiterating some of the stuff that's in my blog from before, and feel free to just run away because this is me. I want to try and keep this short, but what's really interesting is what's happened with what is it? Having the AdWords campaign. The thing that I was just looking at, can I see it? Oh, here it is here. So this is all right. I mean, this is one, like we can see this is when the AdWords campaign came online, right? And we can see that the spike in traffic is really substantial. It's taken us to a new level of people viewing the website. Whether these are people who actually will really benefit from viewing the website, who knows? There's just these people, if we look at the keywords breakdown, which we've got here, we can see that these are the keywords. I mean, like the majority of people are coming in from clicking on coding, code, level up, code coding, development, and so on. Which is kind of interesting. We can also actually go and see we can see the individual search queries that are there, and that's kind of like, it's interesting. Like here, like people are like, we've had people like 230 people have ended up clicking through on us after doing a search for code.org, and 50 people have clicked through onto us after a level up games search. And I mean, the level up one is not. I mean, we've then got these different goals that I've set up that it's now tracking, which are in this interface sort of annoyingly just about whether people land on particular pages, not if the transaction has taken place. But so we can see that this is like people viewing the sign up page, so which is presumably correlated in some way to people actually becoming members. I mean, I still don't know for certain that anybody has become a member through going there. I've just set up, like on Laura's recommendation, a conversion goal. This is just for premium membership in the AdWords, and I'm trying to roll out some new tracking stuff into website 1 so that we will ultimately, I think we'll get in the AdWords interface, that as well as that we'll get from these click-throughs onto the site, we'll start to know more about who is signing up and who is upgrading to premium as a result of having come in to the site from this, AdWords campaign, or indeed, I mean, in principle, we'll also be seeing those who came in not through the AdWords campaign, or not searching, or not clicking on our ad as well through it. Anyway, so there's all this data. We've also got, I've got to show it as well. We've also got, I've killed it. Here it is. It's on production. Let me go. So there's the New Relic data, which is in here, which is we haven't had it running for that long, and I can only see the last 7 days. The site itself, you know, has anybody experienced like slowness on the main site recently? Adventures.org?
No.
No more than usual.
No, me neither. I mean, what I'm seeing here through this thing is, I mean, I'm like, it's showing, I'm getting these alerts of critical problems of app deck scores dropping occasionally. Like if we look back, now this was, what is it, the last 30 minutes, but if I look back over the last 7 days, which is pretty annoyingly, I can't go back further at this current level, I've just applied for that, we can see that there are points at which the traffic has spiked, and it's telling us things here like, you know, at this point in time, you know, of the 5 people trying to, or 8 people trying to get to the site, a couple of people were frustrated, as in that they had pages that weren't loaded. Well, I don't know if those people will then hit refresh and, you know, then they came back and it was okay. I mean, it's in terms of the performance, I guess we're holding steady. I guess we're not anticipating that, you know, we're not going to be plowing huge loads of more money into the AdWords thing. We have a sort of a capped budget, so presumably our you know, performance is going to, or the number of people landing on the site is not going to massively spike. So maybe we're just okay in terms of performance. Do you know what I mean? And the thing that we need to focus on is the, you know, people going through that pathway. Like at the moment now, if we're not logged in, we get this sign up now to start coding. And so, although I'm still not certain if that, it sort of follows that by having that there, more people will sign up. Like, we could make this page look more attractive. You know, we've got these email registrations disabled. Maybe we should bring those back online to encourage more signups. I don't know. No one's complained about it. And then once logged in, the thing that I'm planning to work on for the rest of today is, as at the moment you just fix it. So now when you're signed in, there's nothing there. I'm just about to change it so that if you're signed in and you're not a premium member, it would say, oh, you know, upgrade to premium for more support. And then if you are a premium member, then it would say, oh, upgrade to mob for group sessions with mentor, and have this kind of escalator effect up the funnel. And we'll see if that leads to anybody clicking on it. I guess I'm going to feel, go on, Mark.
Why did you remove the email sign up?
Why did we remove the email sign up? We originally removed the email sign up because we were getting an extraordinary number of spam accounts being created.
Okay.
And we basically shut it down to handle that, and then had to sort of like go through removing all the accounts and what have you. And at the time, that was when I was working full time, and Thomas was starting Craft Academy, and basically there was almost no development resources. So the temporary fix was remove the email registrations, and also then it's kind of like, well, actually also we're not paying for HTTPS certificates. So anybody creating their email through this thing is transmitting their password over the clear, right? So that's bad form. And but basically we're a community for developers. So if you're a serious developer, you'll have a GitHub account. So
yeah, for sure.
And then there was, should we remove Google Plus? Actually, that helps link up with the Hangouts and this, that, and the other, and so on. So yeah,
So
I mean,
maybe,
go on,
yeah.
Lara.
I mean, I'll suggest it in the marketing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little form where they can just, after they've signed up, kind of say, where did you hear about us?
Yes.
Just a quick tick box, nothing.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I think there's lots of little things that we could be doing up and down that that pathway. And it's interesting to think about how we divide our resources between. There are other sorts of problems in the site, like the videos maybe failing. We've got the thing looming that maybe the Hangouts plugin will go away. Do we need to start architecting the new site with a new design to sort of help people flow through it? I guess I'm sort of feeling that and maybe you guys can just reflect back to me on this, sort of what my blog was about this morning, is that, you know, the premium thing as it stands. Oh, is that on localhost, that one? Anyway, the premium thing as here, basically these were like rough and ready pages that I put together. Like the whole thing, it was done in this sort of will people actually pay for this service? Can we accept the payment? Will that work? And we've got to a point now where we actually have a non-trivial amount of money coming through. It's not quite enough for it to be sustainable for me to be full-time on the project indefinitely, but it's kind of, we're paying for our hosting, and we're getting towards where we could start to employ staff or compensate people for their time. We've now got now premium, the PayPal's in there, and more of the premium subscriptions are coming in via PayPal. But I think this page is improved from what it was, but this pricing page, and I've got individual pricing pages for here are very rough and ready. They're kind of just throw something out there in the first instance, put a few there was a few questions, put some stuff in there. I feel like all of this could be hugely improved, but the key thing is that in the site itself, there's no particular, we haven't really advertised premium as kind of if you're just landing on the site for the first time and coming and starting to interact with it, that is an option for you is I think, well, I don't know. I guess am I justifying why I might spend a lot of time on the escalator today? But at least if there's a button sort of there, I guess I'm going to be satisfied. Okay, we're at least pushing people towards that. And yeah, there we go. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, that's my thoughts on them. Please feel free to pick holes in. Maybe I should be focusing on something completely different. I don't
know. Sam?
Yes.
I quickly need to just walk away from my desk. I'll be back if you're around. Around. If you're not, you're not.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm sort of finishing. I've said all of the things that are on my mind. So go on, Matt.
Selfishly, I just have one additional question. It's not about what you're just.
No, that's all right. No, it's that's all food for thought. Yes, we can just switch on to different things.
It sounds good what you're saying. I think. I just wanted to ask real quick. You said Marianne Mosley might do a ticket for event manager, but she hasn't done anything. So
no, but she's working full time she's working full time Monday to Friday. So if she does it, it'll be on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'll just ping her because I'm kind of interested in doing that too. Because it's
okay. Yeah. Oh well, that would she. I think she'd certainly be potentially interested in a pairing with you at the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, we could pair. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I like seeing things used. So if you can point me, I want to do this, but also things that will help and will be, used. So just
absolutely. Yeah. Well, and hopefully in the marketing meeting on Monday, we can sort of talk more about where the focus is and kind of identify things. Great. Cool. I'm thumbsing up. You can't say it. Go on, Pat.
I was just going to say, I mean, when I'm looking at this, if I didn't know what AV was, it looks to me it might be one of those sites where you go and you take a course on JavaScript or Ruby coding or whatever.
Right.
To start coding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if once I click the button, it really becomes apparent to me that this is not that, but it's something else I might be interested in, which is working on real projects. And why do I care about real projects? Because it's open source and GitHub is your resume today.
Right.
That's it. If you're a coder, and doing GitHub with fake homework assignments from these courses is not really going to help you much. If you're working on real projects that you can point to, that's a significant leg up. I mean, that's a real benefit that's got to be brought forward.
Absolutely.
Something about real projects, real code,
Yeah.
Real contributions in GitHub as evidence that you know what the hell you're doing to build something for a real client.
Absolutely. Amen. Absolutely. The thing that I have said in the past is, and it's funny because Stripe has now changed what their layout, but Stripe, you guys know Stripe, right? I mean, if you're not logged into Stripe, their old style system, it used to have just it was like a series of 4 images, but even on the first one, and even just sort of now, they've kind of got this with I thought the image, actually their old site, I think, it had an image of a payment pop-up for a thing, and it had a mobile phone in the background or what have you. But they're kind of, even now, and it's sort of changed there. You can still see there's different things there. I mean, you might not come down to there, but you've got from the their main thing and then their little thing here, you can kind of work out just from there what their offering is. I think it's a relatively good example. And so we've got this, the Learn, Code, Pair, Grow, and it's got these sort of subtitles of meet people online, collaborate online, work on projects, use agile methods. As you say, Pat, it doesn't necessarily get across that differentiator of what makes us different. And in some ways, it makes me think also, like I was saying before, like you were talking about those ambassador meetings. That we haven't necessarily, like the Scrum being the next thing upcoming, we haven't necessarily seen a huge growth in the number of people coming in. I think as a result of people joining Scrums through this link. It almost makes me wonder if, this is using up real estate where we could be more effectively articulating our message, like the one that you just described.
The premier site for doing contributing to
Say again, what we say? Say again, Matt.
I like the Stripe site, and you could do something almost exactly the same. The premier site for, talk yourself up a little bit.
No, it could be, it's like, it could be things like this. This would say instead here, GitHub is your resume, explode it or whatever. And then like a little thing is like, by contributing to open source, will help you to contribute to open source projects to make yourself eminently employable in the eyes of the world, or whatever. I
was just making the point, like, just making a little bit outrageous statement. AV is the premier site for
for that, or absolutely.
But we like that.
It could be so I totally agree. But Pat, you were going to say something else?
Well, I was going to say 2 points, one of which I already made, which is this doesn't differentiate itself, and the way that AV differentiates itself really is value. The other thing is when I see that logo that says join a Kent Beck Scrum, well, first of all, who's Kent Beck? I'm 20 years old. I don't know who the hell that is. And it's a Scrum. Sure. That means I got to be part of a project. If I show up, I'll be embarrassed because I'm not part of whatever project they're talking about.
Right.
So that text really should reflect the fact that please join the next we can still call it a Scrum or projects meeting or whatever. You don't need to be involved with the project. You can listen in and learn.
Hangout because it sounds like it's casual.
Hangout's good.
I think, like we were saying before with this discussion, the suggestion that you made, Pat, is that if it like, I think we can still have the Scrums be called the Kent Beck Scrums or what have you, but they don't have to be represented that way here. And in some ways, we don't necessarily want to direct everybody who lands on the site directly into here's a hangout. And half the people, 70% are going to see that you can be seen by other people, and they're not going to come into on-air hangouts anyway. But it could even be like that. Like, it seems like it would make more sense if this was come to a coordination meeting, whatever most a friendly thing, interested. I mean, like what are they called? The AWS nonprofits thing. They've got what is it here? Like, is it the right one? They've got join the webinar. Yeah, they've got MPO office hours.
So that right. I understand what that means. So okay, I can just kind of listen in. But a Kent Beck Scrum, what the heck is that? I have no idea.
Absolutely,
I'm intimidated.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. So it would be. In terms of taking this apart, I think it would be it seems to make more sense. Let's use this space that we've so far used to announce Scrums and events and so on, and use that to announce the availability of project open hours or office hours, project office hours, or whatever is the phrase that we think is going to be most welcoming and non-threatening to people, and do it as a kind of a hangout that's not an on-air one, just to get people in, and we can do weekly. Just how does Agile Ventures work? Well, what is we do Scrum? What's a Scrum? And so on and so forth. And then maybe replace. This has got all of these other little individual tokens in it. But I think when I compare this, lovely though the little animations and stuff are, when I compare this to having, you know, a big tagline and a, you know, a subheading that goes into a bit more detail, I feel like this is probably getting the message across for Stripe more effectively than we are getting the message across for Agile Ventures with this layout here.
I think those images are not bad actually, but I want to, first of all, I want to know what you guys are all about. Real projects, real code, real contributions for real clients. Great. GitHub is my resume, and that's important to me. The other one is, if I see something, as you put it, with the term "listen in," you know, it's not until you can just listen in to the next coordination meeting at. Okay, well, I get that. I can just listen in anonymously. That's not intimidating. Okay, great. And then when they show up, you know, we all take great pains to say, "Hey, Thomas, I see you're new here. Are you just listening in? What's going on with you?" You know, that kind of thing. Totally. We do that. So I think those two key points, these images themselves, I think are pretty good. And maybe they take up too much real estate, and it's better to use them.
Well, or they could easily be further down the page. I mean, we've got these other bits of things for like more stuff, which is, I mean, I think overall it's quite a nice design. I mean, the interesting thing is that, you know, I think making great points, and it's definitely, there's certainly room to make changes. The interesting thing is whether we say, okay, do we need a separate static site that's like a middleman that's going to be fast loading, or, and then I sort of come across to probably just redesigning this. Can I do it with one of these? Like, just read it. Like, this is kind of our most important real estate.
Yeah,
for where
it
people are landing, and if we can kind of tweak this to include all those things of like getting the main message across, you know, what are the actions that you can take? I mean, we do want to encourage them to I mean, if they do sign up to coding, we should sort of take them straight back to another action that says, now, you know, do this, and now join this, listen in on one of these coordination meetings, and so on. Yeah.
I think I saw those stats for at least for one of the queries, but generally it looked like the bounce rate was upper 70%. And the number of pages was less than 2.
Oh yeah. We're not very sticky. I think a lot of people will be landing here and really not having much of an idea what we're about or why they would want to stick around. Yeah,
exactly.
Certainly.
Keep it simple. You know, what's in it for me? Absolutely. How can I learn?
And it feels like probably the thing, like we've got this process now where these numbers of people are coming through all the time, and it seems like the thing to do is maybe to move quickly to make this prime real estate, get our messages across to people about why they should stick around and why this is all valuable and fun into this area. So it's kind of like almost we put the highest priority, it seems to me, then is more than anything else, just kind of maybe redesigning or tweaking the design on the existing page within this space, right? Are we sort of coming?
That's what I would do. Yeah, you got one chance to make a first impression, and I think this most valuable real estate is your chance to do that. And it's not working right now.
Well, what I would say is, sorry, Matt, is, you know, it's also great to have multiple ideas of these. I mean, you've been making. I've also got this recorded, so we can go back and listen to the great phrases that you've done, Pat. But I mean, if you could spend like just 5 minutes mocking up, even just in text, what you would say would be the ideal, you know, chunk to go here.
Sure. Yeah, I could do that.
That would be fantastic. And Matt as well, and Lara as well. If we all just did that, like, not design the whole site, but you know what I'm saying, right? Just and not even, doesn't have to be messaging. What do we think the best messaging would be for this space, right? And knowing that we can, of course, change that messaging as a function of whether someone is logged in or not. Sorry, but Matt, you were going to say something else as well?
I was going to say the same thing. Maybe if we Redeemify, somebody used the Marvel app and created a real nice mock-up. There's probably other things just like that.
Yeah, that could be. I would almost go myself. We can move to that. I would almost go for myself, just with like doing it in a text editor. Like there was some like, you know, some phrases that GitHub is your resume, or there were some phrases that Pat was using that I think, you know, let's rather than relying on me in 2 days' time to try and remember that great stuff, if we get that down. But yeah, Matt, if you want to jump into Balsamic or the Marvel or what have you,
Google Doc, yeah.
Yeah, or Google anything. It's I think whatever is the path of least resistance, to just spend a few minutes generating you know, some kind of little mock-up, and then, you know, we can compare those mock-ups and sort of, you know, ultimately maybe we can even A/B test different mock-ups and see which is having the best effect. But there's I think a lot of evidence to show that by coming up with multiple prototypes in parallel, and then that sort of improves the end result. So
should we do this on the wiki on website 1 as opposed to different?
Post them to the.
You could do, yeah. I mean, I think we can do. I mean, what I will probably do after I've got some tea is I would just write my own version of it in text, and I'll post it into the website 1 Slack channel. But yeah, we can.
Way to do it too. That would work
in the first instance, and we can go from there. And it could go into the wiki or the docs or the you know, ultimately wherever. Lara, are you still around listening to us burbling along? Yes. Would that be? Are you just sort of chortling inside of these pretend people thinking they know anything about marketing?
No, you know what? I'm actually smiling because I love the passion. I do. It excites me. I think that's what I've been missing. You know, is dealing with people that are passionate about making things better. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Cool. Yeah. So if you have ideas for what would just, even if it's just writing down a paragraph of text of the and not meaning it has to be a paragraph, but it could be like 5 or 2 phrases that would be effective to be in that space. I'd love to have your input on that.
Okay, that's perfect.
Cool. All right. Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm going to have some tea, and I'll see you guys on the camera that's over. Hello. In the Slack channel later on during the course of the day.
All right. Great.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Guys. Bye for now.
Bye now.
Bye.